40.
Wrong Into the Stick podcast with me, Zach Easton, and Jonathan Nimmo.
Hello. You're sounding almost subdued there for a minute.
I'm sounding nice, relaxed. I've got a half day today for a bit of a team.
But nothing to do with cricket,
Nothing
sadly.
to do, not yet.
You couldn't persuade them to go to well, there isn't any cricket to go to, is there?
There's not any cricket to go to.
You could go and play cricket in the rain. That could be a team-building event.
This looks like a miserable day to play. I'd much rather be out in South Africa.
Well, yeah, but it's raining in South Africa, so they're not playing there either. So, hey.
Anyway, with the sun would be great.
A bit of sunshine would be good, yeah.
So, it has been an interesting week.
It has. Yes.
I think it's nice to see the Barney Army where they should be.
Yeah.
Well, getting there.
Well, yeah. We're 2-1 up in the series now. England won second test, so can't complain. Well, I can and probably will, but generally shouldn't. Genuinely shouldn't. But I'm, if we win the last test, I'll be spot on with my prediction, and I'm sure you'll owe me something.
Yeah.
Don't know what, but I'll come up with something you can owe me. Yeah. We haven't promised anyone a t-shirt for ages.
I know.
Yeah, and we never did give anyone away.
We still haven't made one.
That is true, which is probably why we haven't given any away. But yeah, I think you need to get on to design some logo for us, and
I think the logo idea was going to be like a ball as a personified.
I hope there's more. I really hope there's more.
A personified cricket ball holding the cricket bat the wrong way, so essentially hitting themselves, because it's kind of like wrong end of the stick.
Yeah,
cricket ball.
I like that. It's good. Yeah, draw it up, get it on a t-shirt.
Draw it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, shall we head into... I've got a sort of brief running order. So we have to touch, firstly, on the poll results from last week, because we ran a poll after our little debate last week, so we're going to come to the results of that.
Funnily enough, I've been checking that, and I'm
well, let's get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk about the third test, England's third test. I've got to wise that for you, and then I've got a bit of a topic as well.
Nice.
And we've got a little added bonus of talking about the Under-19 World Cup as well. So hey, there you go. Lots to get through. So we'll come to the poll results first. So you've been checking the poll results. What's the problem with the poll results?
So... Well, no, it's not a problem. So I think at the end of the poll it was something like 70...
Well, for anyone who didn't listen last week, I know we have a lot of regular listeners, but in case you missed it last week, so we got into a bit of debate about what was worse, Joss Butler's insult of Philander, I think it was, and general expletives from behind the wicket, or was it Rabada's celebration, which has led to him being banned for the next test. I was on the side that the swearing was worse and the insults were worse. You thought the celebration was worse. The Twitterverse, by a fairly stonking majority, agreed with me. It was 80-20 in the end. 80% agreed with me, 20% thought the celebration was worse. So, So, what was your thoughts on that? I wasn't surprised. That's about where I expected it to be.
I think I can see why it kind of swung that way. And I think just for kind of shock factor, those with kind of sensitive ears, it is more shocking to hear that language as opposed to the action. But if we look at not just the spirit of the game, but the things that we as people that follow sport know that happens, I think the actions are too very significant, and they both got punished the same, which I think was the right thing to do. For me, I still think that the celebration is that step, just that by a couple of inches worse in a lot of respects, not just the language and the measure of offence. I think the shock value is that swearing element of it, but I think in terms of sportsmanship, the spirit of the game, and what all of that kind of entails, I think the celebration. But they both. Well, do you know what? They both got equally punished.
We won't go back into it again. No. Let's just agree that you were wrong and move on. So there we go. Right.
I'm going to hold that over.
Well, I've got a treat for you.
Yeah.
You're going to have wise that before we get into talking about everything else today.
Yes.
Which I know you enjoy. So the why is that today was much talked about in the third test, England-South Africa, which is why we're having it first, is following on. What does it mean when teams talk about making the other team follow on? This may be one that you don't know. Maybe this is more of a Seamingly Stumped because you don't know what it is, and I can explain.
Following on. Making the other team follow on?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's probably to do with when you declare maybe to restrict the other team. Sway that. I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I'm stumped.
You're stumped. You're seemingly stumped. Yeah, this is the unexpected return of seemingly stumped, everyone. So right, so you have been stumped by that one. Interesting.
I've been stumped by the follow-on.
Right. So following on is when a team has a big lead over another team.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll explain it. So a team goes into bat, and you can only make a team follow on if you bat first. So a team bats first, and normally the one team would bat first, then the other team would bat, then that first team would come back out to bat, and then so it follows like that. That's the normal pattern. What happens with the follow-on is if that first team that comes out to bat gets a big lead, and for test matches that's a lead of over 200. So if they get say 600 runs, and they go into bowling and they bowl the other team out for less than 400. They've got a lead of bigger than 200. What they can do is turn around and say, actually, we're not going to come out to bat next. We're going to make the batting side bat again. And that is making them follow on. So if you've got a big enough lead, so if it's got to be over 200, which is what happened in the England-South Africa game. So England went out and got a score of 499.
Yeah.
South Africa then came into bat and were bowled out for 209.
Right.
So it was a lead of more than 200.
Yeah.
And England said, Joe Root turned around and said, no, you're going to come and bat again. So they made South Africa follow on. So making them follow on is basically they have to follow on their first innings immediately.
What's the benefit of that?
Well, the benefit is that you save time because you then get a chance to bowl them out again. It's psychological as much as anything else as well. Yeah. It puts pressure on them. So yeah, and effectively, if you've got a massive lead, you don't have to bother coming back out to bat again. And even if they catch your total score, you've still got a chance you can come out and bat again. The disadvantages are that you then end up batting last, which can often be more difficult in test matches. But not following on is seen as a bit of a defensive play, whereas making them follow on, that's quite an aggressive. It's quite
no, we're going to
take them on. Yeah, I'm going to try and get them out. So, so that's what following on is. And as I said, this is what happened in the England-South Africa test. So England got 499.
Yep.
Ben Stokes 120. Ollie Pope 135. Fantastic performances from those two. Contributions from elsewhere, but they were the standout stars for it. Then South Africa came into bat and basically didn't do very well again. They're struggling with their batting, so they were bowled all out for 209. Don Best got 5 wickets on that one, young spinner. And Joe Root quite aggressively said, no, we're going to make them follow on. So they did follow on, and after a little bit of resistance here and there, they were bowled out for 237, and that meant that England won by an innings and 53 runs. So they just had one. With one innings, they still got more runs than both South African innings. So it's a big win for England. And Joe Root weirdly's taking 4 wickets in himself in the second innings. So it's like, there you go. When Joe Root's taking 4 wickets off you know something's not right with your batting lineup, don't you? But
that's it.
But yeah, and again, odd contributions from South Africans, but not a lot in there. So and that meant England took a 2-1 lead into the next game, which is sort of starting now, except it's being delayed by rain, so they're not actually underway yet. But there we are. Ollie Pope getting player of the match for his 135 in that first innings, and
that's impressive for someone who's this kind of team. I think it was a bit of a shaky start for England.
It was a bit shaky. Yeah, none of the top 4 made very many runs. They all made some, but not many. Crawley 44, Sibley 36, Denley 25, and Root 27. So none of them quite doing what you'd want. But there we are. But they're Stokes and Pope. great stuff from them.
Popes,
yeah, Stokes and Popes. Yeah. So and that was the follow-on. So there you go. There's a follow-on and England all wrapped up into one.
So that's what follow-on is.
That's what the follow-on is.
There you go.
So when teams talk about, should they make them follow on? It's whether they should be a bit more aggressive and try and come out and take those wickets, or whether they should come into bat. And then what you do when if you don't make them follow on, if England could have come back in and scored another 200 runs themselves, had a massive lead.
Yeah.
But at that point, they didn't have much time left to bowl South Africa out, so that's why it's seen as a bit of a conservative thing to do that. Is if you don't make them follow on, you're unlikely to lose the game, but you're much more likely to draw it than you are to win.
Yeah.
So it's sort of you've got to weigh up all the possible.
It's weird, isn't it? I think if you batted and you wanted that extreme lead, I think the morale of a bowling side, if you then did well, because that lead just increases then by a ridiculous amount. If you've already got a lead by 200, you get another 200, and they've got to get 400 or 500 to match you. You are going to be pretty crushed, but maybe that would draw out the stubbornness in some batsmen to just be like, all right, we're here for the long haul, we'll just crack on. It's interesting that.
Yeah, and what was interesting is and that was sort of my vague topic as thinking about this, because I was watching some of this game, and it got to a point where South Africa knew they just couldn't win, and they were very unlikely to even get a draw, because they'd lost so many wickets, there were so many runs behind, and it was just kind of inevitable. So my big topic was coming out on that final day when South Africa were batting. You've got quite low order batsmen coming in, so you've got sort of the bowlers coming out to bat.
Yeah.
What's your psychology? If you're in that situation, what is your mental thought? Because you're not going to win. You'd have to bat out the entire day to win with like 2 wickets left, and it's not going to happen. So you knew you were going to lose.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a quite interesting psychological situation for you to be in. Do you just come in and play more like you, where you would just go and swing the bat?
Yeah.
And probably get out quite quickly, but might have a bit of fun doing it? Or do you come in, play a bit like my natural game of just block everything and just be stubborn and try and make them work for it and try and stay in for as long as you can? It's just an interesting psychology. In what is a situation where you cannot change the game, what would your mental thought be at that point?
I think you've phrased things, when I've come to you and said, okay, well, there's a problem or an issue, you can very easily, you said to me before, well, think of it as an opportunity for development.
Yeah.
And that's one thing to look at. It also depends on stuff like where in the series it is.
Yeah.
And I'm talking not just about the amount of output that you're going to put in versus kind of reward, but also about expending energy that might put to risk your form, might put to risk your kind of exhaustion levels. I think if it was early on in the test, I would find it, and you were in that situation, to say it was the first test and South Africa were then in that situation where they weren't going to win on that to find winnings. For me as a batsman, I'd be thinking about, trying possibly just slightly different things to challenge the pace bowlers, maybe play a bit more aggressive in some respects, maybe just playing off the back foot a bit more for the kind of spinners, seeing what their behaviour is. They'll still be doing their thing and trying to outsmart you, but I think I'd be more kind of passive and fluid, as opposed to thinking, I've got to play certain shots, and I've got a role to do. If you know as a team you're going to fail, then that's time really for reflection as an individual, and time to develop and try and get into their minds a little bit more, and coming out there relaxed and just being like, well, if we're going to lose, I'm going to go out there and have some fun, maybe try a shot that you wouldn't try, or play a bit more aggressive when you would play passive, or vice versa as well, maybe just to frustrate them a bit. They want to win, they're like, I want this day to be over, so maybe in some cases it would be a case of, I'm just going to keep keep like stubbing away at it. You're not going to get past me.
I think that would be mine. I just really want to annoy them, more than anything, just to really bug them. And I was like, no, you're going to be out here for an hour trying to get me out.
To exhaust them.
Yeah. Just mentally, that's it.
I think it depends where you're at, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just. I mean, this game, because I was sort of watching the end of the Test match, and you had Maharaj, the spinner for South Africa, who'd done really well. He'd been in a long time. He got like 70 odd runs, and he ended up getting run out because I think the people he was then batting with had got right down the order, and I was like, I kind of see from his point of view that he's going to have to play some shots and stuff, but. It was, I think it was their last man, Dwayne Patterson. He came out and was really playing shots. He got like virtually a run of ball, almost got to a half century, and I was like, it's just an interesting how you go about doing that and like what your approach would be. And I think I would just be there to frustrate and annoy.
And I think both those styles, whether or not you're out there to frustrate and annoy, and to just block and to stay in, or whether you go out there in a swashbuckling kind of swinging way, it's the same thing. It's about not going quietly into that night, isn't it? It's about, well, if I'm here and we're going to lose whatever it is, I'm going to make a show of it, and I'm going to gain something from it. You still need to gain from your losses. But
it's just an interesting psychological point of view to think about, because you could very easily be on that on village cricket on a Sunday where your team's 100 runs behind and you're the last man coming out to bat. It's a situation people can relate to. If you're coming out quite far down that order of, well, we're not going to win this, but what am I going to do? How's my approach going to be? And I guess, I don't know, psychologically you just got to look for those little milestones and look for, okay, I'm going to try and get to 5 runs, and you get to 5, right, okay, I'm going to get to 10, and now I'm just going to try and stay in for a bit, and I'm going to, small little things, play for your own. And I suppose it's that situation, you play for your own stats and play for your own personal goals and things, isn't it? You create your own little milestones and things that you can aim for.
You do, and at the same time, I think if it was like 7 o'clock at Salisbury and I was tired, I'd probably be and I was the last man, I'd probably be leaving those Yorkers. I'd probably just be doing, I'm going home.
It just go past the wicket and you just knock it off. You're like, hit wicket, sorry, shucks. Run out, just trip over another field. Oh
dear. I'm gonna have to go and have a cup of tea.
Well, no, it's just interesting. It's an interesting sort of position that they were in, and had to put themselves in. So yeah. If you've had that situation, anybody at home, let us know. And what's your process when you're going out in a no-win situation? Do you go out there swinging for the fences, or do you just go out there to really frustrate and annoy? And I think that probably says more about my personality than I'd like it to be honest. I just want to bug them and be like, nah, I'm sticking around.
Well,
I'm going to annoy you.
That's the kind of mentality I think as a cricketer you need. It's a mixture of those things, and I think being there like a thorn in their side, you kind of need. That's the whole point. You need to get into their heads. You need to be that person that's like, I can't get this dude out. And just chip away at their position as they're ahead. Just kind of make them sweat a little bit, make them feel a little bit, less comfortable the next time they're facing you, and the tables may have turned. Yeah,
sounds good. Cool. Well, so that was the third test. So that means England 2-1 up in the series. We go into today's test. So it's due to start. Well, it was due to start this morning, but it's been raining there. But it has just got underway. But there was a bit of news that came out this morning. We're hot off the press with this one, that Jofra Archer has got injured in sort of the warm up of it, which is probably good that it didn't start straight away, because if it bowled like Hanover and then got injured, England was screwed. So for this one, the batting lineup remains identical, but we've got Broad, Wood, Curran, Wokes in, so no Dom Bess in this team. They've gone with an all-pace lineup again. Okay. So yeah, apparently they obviously think the pitch isn't going to spin, so there we are. But looking at it, I think South Africa have dropped Maharaj as well, so they've gone with an all-pace lineup as well, so it's obviously something in the pitch there. Maybe we'll talk about that one day.
It's the rain, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
Because doesn't the dampness...
The damp means it's better for
pace.
For pace and for swing bowling in particular, but you'd still expect it. I mean, England have Joe Root who took 4 wickets last time, so maybe they'll just say like, nah, we've got Root, we're all right. But there we are. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we've got Root.
We've got Root, we're fine. So there we are for that one. So England's 7 for 0 off like 3 overs or something. So there we go. Right. Under 19 World Cup. Shall we talk about that?
Yes.
And then I've got one other little thing to go through, and then we can probably call it quits and go and have some lunch. Right. So the Under 19 World Cup has got going over the last week or so. And this is 16 teams from across the world, all playing 50 over tournament, and it's actually on some free-to-air TV, which has been quite fun. So I've been watching some of these games. England not doing terribly well.
Okay.
So there's 14. They're split into groups of 4 teams. India are sort of hammering their group at the moment. They're in a group with New Zealand, Japan, and Sri Lanka.
New Zealand won both.
Yeah,
all about them trying to introduce cricket over there and them struggling. So it's nice to see that they're up there with the more kind of formidable national teams. Yeah,
England are in Group B with West Indies, Australia, and Nigeria. England have currently lost both games that they've played. West Indies are looking pretty dominant. I saw them against I can't remember who they were playing, but I saw them play, and that was they were looking really good. So they've won 3 games out of 3. England have lost both that they've played, so not looking great for England, I'm not going to lie, but there we are. Group C is Bangladesh, Pakistan, Zimbabwe, and Scotland. Scotland's struggling in that one as well, unfortunately. And the final Group D is Afghanistan, South Africa, UAE, and Canada. And Afghanistan looking good there. So they've got some.
Ireland under 19s?
I don't think they're in it. Ireland are not in it. I don't know about the qualification process, but they're not there.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry. Maybe you should invoke your Irish heritage and sign up, and you're not under 19 anymore, but so that's not going to help you. So never mind. But there we are. So it's an interesting tournament. It is out there on some form of TV that's not crazy expensive to buy sports channels for and stuff. So it's been good to watch. Been some good cricket going on. So it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. We'll maybe revisit it as that tournament gets further in and we see what happens with it. But it's good to have a bit of youngsters playing cricket and stuff. And it just annoys me. You look at them and they're all like 17, 18, and they're all like ridiculously good, and it's just like, I hate you, but also want to beat you at the same time. It's just quite frustrating. But hey, there you go. So that's the Under 19 World Cup.
Nice.
And right, one more thing I want to cover before we call it quits for the day. And it's a bit of a discussion I got into with our old friend David Cook on Twitter quite late one night, and we got into a discussion. He basically said, and it's something that we've sort of touched on, that England should completely separate the short form cricket from the test cricket. He said they should have separate squads, separate coaches, everything should be completely different, which is quite interesting, because we've sort of said they should have separate coaches and they should be treated a bit differently. But he has literally proposed 2 separate teams. So he puts the red ball cricket England team, so the test match team, as Rory Burns, Dom Sibley, Joe Denley, Joe Root, Ollie Pope, Ben Stokes, Ben Fawkes, Dom Best, Jack Leach, Stuart Broad, and Jimmy Anderson, which is a pretty good team. You can't really take much away from that.
I don't know why you wouldn't have Stokes and Fawkes in the short form of the game.
Well, that was literally my very first thing to it, because he then said the white ball team would be Roy, Bairstow, Banton, Morgan, Butler, Ali, Wokes, Archer, Howell, Rashid, and Parkinson. And my very first comment was leaving Stokes out of a white ball team just seems like madness.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't really want to go to play test matches in Australia without Jofra Archer. You want pure pace. I was like, I said to him, it's just the arbitrary nature of leaving them out. It seems a bit weird.
Yeah.
But he did make a fair point that look, if you look at what people like Broad and Anderson have done since they've retired from white ball cricket, they've been really good in test cricket and making people focus a bit more. It doesn't burn players out as much and it lets them focus on it, and as I say, I genuinely think Joe Root would benefit from quitting white ball cricket and focusing just on test matches. I think that would get him back to being a dominant test match player. I mean, he's not going to do that, but I would like to see it, and I'd like to see if his game did improve from that. So, but yeah, what's your take on that? Because I thought it was an interesting idea. It's not going to happen immediately, and I think arbitrarily leaving Stokes out of one or the other team just seems harsh because he's dominant in both forms at the moment. So
I think having it so arbitrary, I'm just going to show you a quick diagram like for those that are listening, where you have like two circles and there's like a circle.
It's a Venn diagram. So.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So you'd have I think you could have people kind of fluid in the middle that could jump in between.
Yeah.
I think having core.
I think you'd have your core group.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's particularly wrong in who he's put in each different group and stuff.
No.
Like Roy Bairstow, they're better one day players than they are test match players. So
having like Morgan and stuff in the one day and having people like Root in the test and Anderson in the test. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think there's some like Ben Stokes, he would fit across both. I think Jofra Archer probably would fit across both. I think there's enough that would go across the two.
Yeah, and they don't have to do every. So if you're predominantly kind of one day, then instead of doing 4 out of 5 tests.
Yeah, if someone gets injured, you could come in and do something.
You do the odd one, or you sub and you kind of do that. Because then it's. I don't think you should be limiting players in what form of the game they can do professionally, because I think that might hamper development. And if that was part of the culture, then you'd have cricketers that would only prefer to play one part of the game. And I think it's good to understand, because I think if you're good at the one day form, or even the 2020 form, for example, sometimes you might need that in a test match, and to switch that mentality on at certain points throughout the game. Vice versa in the shorter forms of the game where you need to be, kind of sticking it out and really digging in. And I think you shouldn't just have people focusing in. I agree with what you're saying though, where having them do that would take a lot of pressure off. Yeah. So having specialists as opposed to a set. This is the team. No one else can like. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I think it's a direction that I think cricket is moving in and will move in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the reason why we in this podcast were very much advocating for separate coaches. When Chris Silver took over, we were wanting a separate one-day coach and a test coach, and I do think it will head that way, but I don't think it's going to head that way as quickly as completely separate squads that can't transfer over. And I don't think it's necessarily needed. I think Ben Stokes' form hasn't faltered at all through playing the Ashes or the World Cup last year or anything like that. He just looks to have taken that form on from one to another, so it can be done. But then you look at somebody like Jos Buttler, who's really struggling in the test team, and actually maybe just focusing on the white ball stuff would be better for him.
It's true, it works for different people, and I think I'd have to agree. I think having different coaches, because that kind of mentality starts from the top, doesn't it? And being a single coach who's trying to focus on the form of not just individuals but a whole team across 3 different forms, it seems mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like in any work that you do, you manage the people who are doing a specific thing. If you multiply that by 3, you all have different measures of success. And then there's a team of 10, 11 of them in each one. Possibly duplicating as well.
Absolutely. It's difficult
in different areas. It's a mad task.
Difficult,
but I think breaking it down to coaches, I would agree, is the best way forward, as opposed to, like say, set teams.
Yeah.
That's an interesting discussion. I'd be interested to hear what people think.
Should we put another poll up? Shall we just get into this, doing a weekly poll?
Poll.
So, shall we? What will the poll be? Something like: should we have completely separate red day, red day, or even test and red ball,
red ball
versus white ball squads, or should there be some mixing?
Should there still be mixing?
Some mixing, or just continue on as we are. Yeah, I'll figure out a better worded question than that, and we'll stick that up and see where we get. See what people think.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. Well, I think we're probably done.
Quite a productive. It was short and snappy.
Yeah, I don't think it was that short in the end, actually.
No.
But I think we've been here a while. It's just time flies when we're having fun. That's it. Cool. So thank you for listening, everybody. If you would like to get in touch with us, if you got topics for us to discuss or anything, then that would be great. You can get in touch with us. Find us mostly on Twitter at Wrong End Podcast. We are also on Instagram, allegedly, at Wrong End Podcast. Or you can email us at wrongendofthestick@hotmail.com, and we will, get
back in touch. And please let us know if there's anything that you want us to kind of discuss on the pod.
Yes, I've got another interview coming up soon. I haven't told you about that one yet, so that's going to be interesting.
Nice.
So
and you're also putting together a whole group of outtakes,
lowlights, highlights, whatever you want to call it.
Lowlights, I like that.
But we will be back next week.
Yep.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.